This is Mrs. Sharpley, and today we are looking at the technical text of how to build a soda bottle birdhouse. And a technical text is a text that teaches us how to do something, typically goes through the steps in a sequential order. First you do this, then you do this, then you do this. So I went ahead and I've already glued in my page that says how to build a soda bottle birdhouse. Using recycled materials to make your own unique birdhouse can be a great way to spend a free day and help out your feathered friends. Make sure you ask an adult for help with this project. Materials needed: an empty 2-liter bottle of soda, a piece of thick wire, sharp scissors, a nail, a hammer, paint, and thick string. A lot of times when we're following maybe a recipe, they'll give us our ingredients first. And in this case, since we're putting something together, they're giving us our materials needed first. And the reason that they would do that is that way we make sure we have everything we need before we start our project. All right, so step number 1 says make sure your bottle is empty and clean. Take off the plastic soda label and any remaining glue. Right, so this is step number 1. Let me just take a little highlight there. There you go. And it's wanting us to obviously make sure our bottle is empty and clean, and then taking off the soda label is going to be important. So I'm going to go ahead and underline that. Empty and clean. And take off the plastic soda label. Okay. Now going on to step 2, it says cut the 2-liter bottle just under where the neck widens. Then cut the bottle about 2/3 of the way down. You will only be using the top and bottom portions of the bottle. The middle section can be discarded. All right, so this is step number 2. And let's kind of talk about step number 2 because there's kind of a lot in there. So it's wanting us to cut the bottle just where the neck widens. So when I look at my bottle here, this is right when it starts to widen. So this is where they're wanting us to cut. So I'm going to go, that's where we cut. All right. Then it wants us to cut about 2/3 of the way down. All right, so this picture is going to be very helpful because yes, we do know that 2/3, if we were to break it into 3 pieces, it would be 2/3. There's our 2. But it's nice to have a picture so we can see exactly where we need to cut. All right, then it says you will only be using the top and bottom portions of this bottle. The middle section can be discarded. So this discarded, well, if you're only going to be using the top and the bottom, and the middle can be discarded, even though discarded is maybe a newer word for us, we can use the text to know that discarded probably means to be thrown away. So we do not need this piece. We can throw it away. All right, going on to step 3. It says take the bottom section of the bottle and cut an opening approximately 2 inches wide. Make sure you try to center your hole so that your bottle doesn't crack. So if we obviously go a little bit too much to the side with our hole, then it may end up maybe cracking if it was a little too much to the side. So we're going to end up cutting that hole. We're going to cut an opening, and we're going to try and center our hole so that way it doesn't crack. Okay, so this is our little hole right here that we're going to be cutting. All right. Then on to step 4. Step 4 says test fit the top and bottom together to see how well they match. Then take your nail and hammer to create 2 holes, see arrows, on both the top and bottom portions. The holes you make should line up. All right, so we're going to fit the top and the bottom are going to go together, and we're going to kind of see how well they match. Then we're going to make holes here. It says take your nail and hammer to create 2 holes. Those holes those arrows are showing us where our holes are going to be. Our holes are going to be a little bit to the side here. And then on both the top and bottom portions, the holes you make should line up. Okay, so on to step 5. It says now make 4 holes in the lid of the soda bottle using your nail and hammer. Then twist your lid back onto the bottle top. Okay, so I'm making 4 holes in the top of my cap there. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it back on. Then moving on to step 6, it says next paint the 2 pieces of the soda bottle. You can use almost any kind of paint and even make creative designs. Let both pieces dry completely before going on to the next step. Make sure none of the holes get plugged with paint. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and paint the 2 pieces of the soda bottle. Okay, so paint 2 pieces. And I can use any kind of paint, it says. And I can be as creative as I want to be. And then I have to make sure that it dries before we go. So let both sides dry. That's going to be probably pretty important. I'll put a little star there. All right, now on to step 7. It says step 7. Use the thick wire to attach the 2 bottle pieces together. Then use the thick string to loop through the holes in the cap. This will be how you hang it. You can also add some nest building materials for the birds in your birdhouse if you wish. All right, so there was kind of like a mouthful, which means that there was kind of a lot of information there. So I really need to go back and reread it and kind of go through each line and think about exactly what it's telling me. So it says use the thick wire to attach the 2 bottle pieces together. So they've kind of put these 2 pieces together and we're supposed to use the wire to attach them. It says then use the thick string to loop through the holes in the cap. So that's when we have our little piece of string here and it's actually going to go through the holes in the cap. This will be how you hang it. You can add some nest building materials for your birdhouse if you wish. So inside we can put a little bit of bird materials if we want to. All right, so we're going to use that thick wire to attach those 2 bottle pieces, and then we're going to use that thick string to loop through the holes in the cap, and that is for how we're going to hang it. All right, so we've gone through our text. I'm feeling pretty good about all of the different steps. Now we're going to go to our other page where we are going to put in our questions. Now I haven't glued this down quite yet because it never fails when we go to glue, somebody just starts gluing and then all of a sudden they don't have their flaps or can't do what they need to do because they've glued too much down. So I'm actually going to glue, cut just my individual pieces here on the black lines. Okay, and I haven't cut my little side strip here, so now I can turn it over and put glue just on my edge. And then I can go ahead and put it into my notebook. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and go through what type of informational text is this and explain how you know. Well, as I said in the beginning of the video, that this is a technical text. And I know this because a technical text is teaching me how to do something. And it goes through the different steps. All right, so this is a technical text. And I know this because it teaches how to make something. Okay. All right, our next question is briefly explain the steps to build a soda bottle birdhouse. And this is actually where I'm going to kind of let you start working on your own. I will say, really think about that word briefly. It's wanting us to briefly explain. It obviously doesn't want us to go through all of the steps in detail again. So if you were just telling a friend, maybe in a sentence or two, about the steps that you had to go through to make the birdhouse, and that's the kind of thing that we're going to put there. Our next question says, why in step 1 is it important to remove any remaining glue? Okay, so we might actually have to go back to step 1 and relook at that, so that way we can maybe come to the conclusion why we'd have to remove all the glue. And then it says, why in step 6 is it crucial to make sure none of the holes get plugged? We'll go ahead and talk about crucial here, because crucial means it's very important. And if we went back to step 6, I do remember that it said it was very important not to plug the holes with paint. So you'll need to maybe go back to step 6 to kind of come up with that answer. And then our last question says, explain why it is recommended that you ask an adult for help with this project. Use the text to help you infer these ideas. All right, so why would you want an adult to be helping you through these steps and making sure you have what you need, etc.? So I'm going to go ahead and let you answer those last 4 questions, and then your teacher will give you instructions on what to do with your finished assignment. Have a good one, guys. Bye.